And if you no longer go for a gap that exists, you're no longer a racing driver.
It always cracks me up.
The people love it. It's what separates us from the rest.
You know, I give the people what they want, and what the people want is me. Right? And they want me here with my closest Italian friend and a man, a hobbled descendant of a criminal. So I'm welcoming again LK and Jamie. You guys ready to review the 1992 British GP?
Oh yeah,
I'm locked and loaded. I'm so excited about this one. We still don't have a name for this series. I'm calling Blast from the Past. So if you guys have a better name, I'm all ears. But yeah, those are fun to do it. It's so nice to relive those old races. So yeah, let's jump in.
Cool. Yeah, cool to see. Cool to see a race at is it Silverstone or Silverstone?
Silverstone.
Stun. All right, so we get stunned by this one. Well,
I mean, the way Mansell
drove. You're not a professional joker, right, Jason?
Not yet. So this race it took place in July of '92, and so some of the things that were going on around that time. So we saw that there's the space shuttle Columbia 13. It lands successfully. We see that the U.S. Major League Soccer, it folds. And I know we shed a lot of tears. Americans, we decided that soccer were not interested back in '92. I don't know why it keeps sticking around here, but after 14 seasons, it folded.
Football.
Exactly. And then in Wimbledon is going on because it's the summer, and we see Steffi Graf is just halfway through her domination of the women's singles. She wins her 4th out of 7 Wimbledon titles. She's outclassing Monica Seles at the time, so I'm sure that was pretty cool to watch. And then on the men's side, you had Andre Agassi. He wins his first of 8 Grand Slam titles. My favorite story about Andre Agassi is that he actually hated playing tennis.
Really?
His father made him play, I think.
Cool.
I heard that as well. Yeah.
Well, my favorite part of Andre Agassi is his wife. What was his name? What's her name?
Steffi Graf.
No, the other one.
Brooke Shields. Brooke
Shields, yes.
Yeah.
That was the best part of Andre Agassi.
And then, we also see around this time that the Colombian drug lord Pablo Escobar, he escaped prison. So
nice.
It was very, very nice to see him, break free. Such a great guy. And then also around this time was the Olympic Games in Barcelona. Barcelona.
Yeah.
So the interesting thing about this one, this is the first Olympics that I actually remember watching. Right. So it's pretty, the dream team. Yes. So it's funny that, when I was compiling this list, like Barcelona came, and I was like, it's a nostalgia all around for me.
Yeah.
I was 2.
So Jamie, tell us about the qualifying for the British GP. What kind of happened? Maybe give us a summary.
So basically, Mansell was just dominant, so much faster than everybody else. Even Ayrton Senna. Second day was ruined by rain, so no one really could improve on their times. But you could tell from qualifying, even above his teammate who had the same car, he was just a class above. And man, he'd already been dominant this season. I think it was 6 out of the 8 races before this he'd won. So, it was setting up to be a truly historic performance from Nigel. And can
I ask a question? So, what was the step above, him or the car?
Probably the car.
Him. Qualifying was a joke because Mansell was 2 seconds 2 seconds faster than Petrucci. Petrucci is Valtteri Bottas 20 years or 30 years before him. I mean, he's Valtteri Bottas with a cooler accent for sure. I mean, he must have felt like he must have felt like an absolute jackwagon coming 2 seconds behind the guy in the exact same equipment. Now, I mean, okay, he beat Senna by a full second, which is nice, but 2 seconds behind your teammate, horrible.
So I think in this race he was already using, but in the beginning of the season he wasn't getting used to the active suspension, so he was actually not using it because it adapted more to his style of driving. So it's crazy to think that you are giving this absolute masterpiece, right, to drive.
Yep.
And you can't drive because it doesn't adapt to your style. It's like he's the mix of Bottas and Ricardo, right? That needs a new chassis so he can adapt to his style. It's crazy.
He did have a pretty big off in the first qualifying, which affected his ability to improve on his time. But 2 seconds behind your teammate. Yeah. It does sort of say maybe it was Mansell, but those Williams cars were dominant. Out of the whole field.
Yeah, so FW14B, just a beast, a rocket ship. But there was a really good field, right? I mean, when you look at who was on the grid for this race, it's a who's who of the time, but also of F1.
Yeah, so it was Michael Schumacher's first full season, right? Because in the previous year he was at Jordan, I believe.
Yep.
And this was his first season at Benetton, like full season. And he qualified fourth, right? He was already performing very well. Yep. Damon Hill was, I think, his first race or the first
one he qualified.
First one he's qualified, right? Yeah. So, and obviously, we were watching the British broadcast, right? The announcers were very excited about Damon Hill qualifying. All the hype and. Last but not least, Mika Hakkinen was there as well.
Yep.
And I want to talk about him in a little later about the race. But he was there, and he did actually a good job throughout the race. I don't remember where he qualified, but hey, those top three, they were gonna be literally the next three champion world Grand Prix, right?
Yeah.
So, after Mansell and Prost, they are the three next ones. So pretty cool to see that. And honorable mention here, and I know Jason's gonna crap all over me, but Alex Zanardi was in this lineup and driving an F1 that season. Yeah. Even though his performance in F1 wasn't great, after this year he went on to win in the car back-to-back years.
The two-legged version. That's terrible. He's a really good driver. He's always been really good. Actually, he has some of the best burnouts too. Best celebrations when he wins. So I respect that. But this the qualifying and the race, it all comes down to the Williams car. I mean, it's over 700. I think they said 700, 750 horsepower out of Renault. So that V10, a Nissan never sounded so good. It's such a beautiful sound, as it's screaming down the track. And, this particular car, it's the active suspension, and it's the active suspension because of the bulbous parts that kind of stick out towards the front. But that's the suspension, so all of that was oversaw by Paddy Lowe, and the car aero design was designed by Adrian Newey, right? So they came up with this active suspension, and really what they were going for was Adrian Newey told them, well, if you could control the attitude of the car, I can give you the very best aero package, right? Just keep it very consistent, and I can give you downforce in every corner if you could just keep the attitude the same. And it wasn't the first time active suspension had been used. It was just the first successful time.
Yeah, exactly. And even Williams tried right back in the past, and they couldn't make it happen. And then with the advancing in technology, they were able to pull that out. But I've been watching Drive to Survive, and
nice.
The reason I'm bringing this up is one of the last episodes on season 2 is how Williams is royally failing, right? and one of the culprits of the 2019 season was Paddy Lowe, right? He was the CTO of Williams, and he just managed to not have anything on time for the car to launch. So you see him 30 years before, like brilliant, marvelous car, like one of the most technological advancements ever, right?
Yeah.
So much so that Formula One prohibited active suspension from being used after 93. So like he was this brilliant genius, and then 30 years later, when he was leading the team, he utterly failed. So I just wanted to bring up this comparison, right?
Well,
so how you can rise to stardom and then just fall fast.
And you can't say enough about how good this car was when Prost and Senna, they're fighting to try to drive this car, right? Like they are doing their best to cut deals to try to go drive this car. And then flash forward today, we're fighting to get George Russell out of Williams into a Merc, which is going to happen. You can check that box. But this car was so good. So the Spec B was so good. They had developed the next generation, the FW15. They decided not to drive it because they just evolved to a Spec C for the next year because it was so good.
So was that what Prost drove? Was a
right? That's what they started 93 with was FW or FW14C, and they didn't go with the 15.
No, and I think nowadays with camera stabilization, people don't realize how the car bumps, right?
Moves around,
right, because the cameras have active stabilization. But you see that Williams, like especially when you have that camera from the driver, like right at the between the nose and the wheel, and you see that thing going back and forth, right? The McLarens, the Bantons.
Yeah.
Then you see the Williams is like so smooth. Yep. It's like you're sitting down, relaxing, eating chocolate. like so peaceful. That drive. It's amazing to see that car. It's just amazing.
So Petrucci must have been taking a nap there during his qualifying session to be 2 seconds behind his teammate there. But
it's talent, right? Talent. The boy was down to talent.
Now they did say that there was a button on the steering wheel that would lower the rear of the car on the straights. So essentially DRS. But I'll tell you, I gained a lot of respect for Mansell when they told the story that Mansell would see how long he could hold the button down going into a corner. Right. So like that's what true driver is like. Let me just see how long I can hold this. Can I? How many? Yeah. What's the real limit of the car? Is pretty amazing. Pretty ballsy.
I think the thing with Mansell it was that he wasn't shiny. Right, he wasn't that superstar, or at least he didn't have that aura of superstar. I don't know if it was the mustache, his body, that he wasn't that fit. I don't know what it is, but you look at him, you don't see a superstar. Yep. But he was pretty damn good, like pushing the car to the limit, like you said. He was always trying to to beat everyone else, and we're gonna hear about that. But like when he lost the World Drive Championship in '86, it really scarred him because even after winning 6 races with this one, he was like, I don't know if I'm gonna win the championship. I lost 86 at the last 10 laps. So he was very focused on racing and winning. Yeah. So kudos to him. Like it was definitely nice to see how calm he was when he was giving interviews,
And they tried to get it out of him because every time they spoke to him, it was, and with the Drivers' Championship, you must feel like you've done a good job to get ahead. He's like, you know what? Until it's mathematically impossible to be taken, he wasn't taking anything for granted, which is a humble man.
Yeah. And say what you want, right? You win a fucking Formula One championship. The next year, you go and win a Indy championship or Drivers' Championship.
Yep.
It's not for everyone. Like people say, oh, Indy is easier, anyone could do it. But Fittipaldi went there and didn't win the first year, right? So it takes talent, and in my opinion, he was very talented.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Showed it in the race.
So when this race started, basically this whole race, turn one, lap one is the entire race, because what you see is so Petrucci, pulls up sort of close, going into Copse, right? And then Mansell just blows past him on the exit of Copse. It's really, I actually rewinded it a couple times to watch. He's just shot out like a rocket out of Copse, and then he makes Maggots and Beckett's all just look easy. It's just on rails going through there, and
Maggots, it's 4.5 G.
4.5 G's.
It's like so much. Back in the day, I don't know how much it is right now, but back in the day, 4.5 G with those cars that had no support or nothing.
Yeah, you just had your belts.
That's it. Yeah,
there was no neck support that holds you in place. It was just your belts were in your body.
Listen, I think we picked this race because we kind of wanted to keep the Monaco theme of the hometown hero. Leclerc didn't win, but we wanted to pick the last Mansell win, right? In Great Britain. And the thing is, even though it's about Mansell and his last win there, the race should be called Brundle, Senna, Schumacher, right? Because that was the bulk of the race.
Absolutely.
The three of them on a train formation, following each other all the time. And it's so impressive that, Benetton's were faster, on the straight, and then the McLarens were somehow faster on the turns, and they couldn't pass each other.
Yeah.
And you look at it, it must be so frustrating for the driver, because obviously Senna was the better driver at that moment, right?
Yep.
In time, not in the race, but
he's still the better driver today.
Exactly. I want to be respectful of everyone.
Sorry.
But the thing is, imagine if those cars had DRS, right?
Yeah.
He would have passed.
Yep.
Opened up 5 second gap, and that's it. And you think back, it's that race was saved in terms of being exciting because of no DRS, right?
Yeah.
Because those cars were fighting the whole time, and I think that Senna broke because he was trying too hard the entire race. Obviously the reliability wasn't there for the Honda engines, but I think that I was watching the race all the time, looking at basically the broadcast is the three cars, maybe 75-80% of the race.
Yeah,
but
and credit to Brundle, but he's coming to the back end of his career. You got that guy behind you, constantly pushing you to stay ahead, keep your head as much as he did, and obviously, at the end, as the race wore on, those beautiful Honda reliable engines. Although I think it was a gearbox that went on him. And
gearbox. Yeah.
What I thought was amazing, it was the second Grand Prix in a row that Senna had retired in Britain. It was back-to-back British Grand Prix he'd retired from. So that was kind of cool to see. And they talked about Mansell picking him up the first time.
Not cool at all, but yeah.
Well, but just going back that battle just for a moment. So what you see is that in the first 10 to 15 laps, you have Schumacher attacking Senna, and he just cannot get by. And then you see Brundle has some space, maybe 2 seconds or so. There's a gap, and then you see as the tires start to wear, Senna starts to catch up to Brundle, and then he starts to struggle, and Schumacher is dropping back a little bit as well. So that's the whole fight there for the whole race. And then they confirmed it in the post race interview. Martin Brundle says, I was able to stick it out, when my tires were wearing, and it seemed that the McLaren was better on the longer run on the older tires. But that's the whole race. Yeah.
And Brundle had a dig at Senna because he beat Senna on Formula 3.
Yeah.
That back in the day was the step before Formula 1. So it's it was like old times when I beat him in the Formula 3. So
it wasn't a big thing.
It was cool to hear that.
How long do you think he had been saving up that
Oh yeah, forever.
He had that in the Rolodex for forever, right?
Definitely.
So that race was also interesting because back in the day, that race specifically had 25 cars, right? I think there were 30 entrants, and there was a pre-quali, and then from the pre-quali we had the 2 qualies. and there were 25 cars that started that race. Up
26.
but no, 25. It was it's a odd number. You
sure?
Yeah.
I thought it was
yeah.
4 missed out because Damon Hill qualified 26ed.
You sure? Then I'm wrong. I'm sorry.
I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, actually it's 26 because I'm reading the note. Sorry.
We'll edit that out. We'll edit it out.
It is what it is. But the interesting part is that up to a third of the race, there were no retirements.
Yeah.
Right? And then all of a sudden, the race ends with 16 cars. So 10 cars retired in the second 2/3 of the race.
And it wasn't it wasn't big crashes that took him out. It was just cars failing.
Well, Schumacher took out somebody, right? Like he just runs into a back marker at some point for no reason at all. No reason at all. He just locks up the race and T-bones some guy for no reason at all. But like he still went on after that. Just like as hard as he hit that other car, it was still fine.
Well, and it's funny because Maury talks about that. I think he hit Olivier Panis. It's like Panis is gonna be upset because it's the second time Schumacher does that. Yeah. So it's like it was his maturity phase. It was his second year, the full year that he was racing. I think either before this race or after he hit Senna as well, and that's the famous encounter of both that Senna tries to punch him or something like that, or slaps his face, something like that. So yeah, he was maturing. He was still a young driver, and he just. But the other interesting thing is, and I googled about that. Blue flags existed, but they were not enforced in terms of the driver in front that was a back marker didn't have to open up.
Yeah, there was no penalty.
Or the driver to pass. So Panis was just racing his race, and Schumacher didn't wait for the right moment. But I wanted to bring Hakkinen back because he actually held Brundle when Brundle was passing him, and he fought with Brundle for about three turns before Brundle passed him, and because of that, Senna got super close to Brundle. And almost passed him actually because of that.
There was that corner where he actually did get ahead, but he couldn't hold the speed through the corner, and Brundle took it again. So
but it was the first and only time that Senna was like maybe half wheel in front of that Benetton, and then he went back.
Yeah,
well, I mean, Schumacher just showed himself to be one of the luckiest drivers alive because he really should have finished 5th or 6th. I mean, he should not have finished where he did because, running into another driver, and then he was able to move up 2 spots because both McLarens broke. I think Berger, he blew the engine on the last lap, but he was still able to finish. I think he finished 5th, right? Somehow. But now I'm a little weary that he may have purposely blown the engine there at the end, but not that any racer would ever do that, right?
No, come on. So some interesting facts here. After that race, after Silverstone, Senna fell to 5th in the Drivers' Championship. So he was even behind Berger. So he was Mansell, Patrese, Schumacher, Berger, and
Senna and Brundle,
So he was 5th. So it wasn't a good year for McLaren. Their reliability wasn't there. Honda had announced that they were leaving Formula One. There were no prospect of good engines for the next year. And like you said, both Prost and Senna were fighting for a Williams seat, right? Yep. Because that was the the go-to car. But I think I want to save that drama for a later episode because I think we can talk about that alone in one episode. Yeah. We do have a video here, and we'll be showing, but the boxes, right? The pit stops. We can stop and analyze pit stops again as its own entity. But let's focus here on how the cars perform differently, right? So you see the McLaren getting out of the pits, bumping like crazy.
Yeah.
It's like they say like a hippity hop, like a bunny. It's just hopping down the end of pit lane there. Yeah.
Which every other car did the same.
Yeah. All the other cars did it.
Then you see Mansell pitting right? Which, by the way, was a very slow pit stop because they were so much
Far
in front
ahead.
of that they made sure that the car had no loose nuts, no anything.
Yeah,
The car was
they did
perfect. Yeah, he actually talks about that. Murray talks about that.
Yeah, they mentioned it. Yeah.
Yeah, Mansell got screwed in the past for loose nuts, so let's make sure everything's good.
Yeah.
And as he drives out and the camera opens up, like you see just the Williams cruising.
Yeah,
The active suspension.
Yeah.
No, so it was funny to see the difference from like everyone else bumping and then Williams like smooth right.
Almost a 9-second pit stop, but then
I know.
they make up all that time back, just, and it's so smooth. And then you see like he's just planted; it's just glued to the track all the way around. It's pretty amazing.
Not only that, contrary to Senna's, I don't know if you guys know, but Senna was famous for in the last 2 laps just like slow down to make sure the car would go to the finish line. Right? Yeah, he always did that since the 80s. So it was his thing, right? Senna, on the other hand, Mansell, on the other hand, in this race, he was doing fast lap after fast lap in the last laps of the race. I think his fastest lap was done 3 laps to the
the 125 or something like that.
No, 124.
124. Yeah.
So like he was just like racing like there was no tomorrow because he wanted to guarantee he won that race.
Yeah. I mean, and they mentioned during the race, like early on, like he was pushing hard. He had like a 13-second lead after 4 or 5 laps, and then he was backing off by half a second a lap, and it was still blowing the gap out. Like he was just cruising at 70% and still just blowing everyone else away. Like credit to the car and the driver.
Him jumping up to that 20-second lead and then relaxing. It made me think, maybe this whole turbo hybrid era, maybe we don't have it that bad. Maybe it's not that bad. Because this race, it was just a laugher.
It was over after one corner.
After one corner, and then there at the end, just playing with the field, just showing hey, even at the end of the race, I'm still the class of the field, no contest.
But no. I think there's 2 things there, right? Obviously, Williams were the best, but we were talking about that a little bit before we start the episode. I think officially that era is the V10 era, but you look at the list of teams and engines, it's all over the place, right? McLaren is running V12s, Williams is V10, Benetton is V8, and then you have a bunch of the other teams all over the place as well. There was no standard, right? I think it took a few years until they standardized everything. But it was just a free for all. It was like a mixed bowl of everything in that lineup. And I think that also helped for the lack of reliability on the back markers, right? Because those were like 1 or 2 year old engines that they were just running, and trying to make something out of it. I think it's clear, right? There's nothing else to talk about Mansell, but one interesting tidbit, and then I want to compare with Hamilton after, obviously. Let's hear this video and audio here.
I have in the box with me the great 3 times world champion Jackie Stewart. Now let's keep an eye on this battle, Jackie, but it looks as though you're in danger of losing your honour of the highest number of wins by a British driver, 27 to Nigel Mansell.
Murray, I'm absolutely sure of it. Nigel's got the race totally by the scruff of the neck. He's controlling the pace that he wants to drive at. He's driving a very well-calculated race. I take my hat off to him. If he does succeed today in getting 28 victories, I'll be the loudest applauder up here in the tower. I think he's done a very good job, and I congratulate him. So far, I am a racing driver, and as James and you know, you can never think of things like that until they actually happen. So we've still got a bit of racing to do yet, but he is driving with a great masterly condition between that Williams team and his driving talent. It's a great piece of teamwork.
Well, thank you, Jackie. I know that Nigel Mansell that we're looking at in the lead now.
All right. I know Jason has some feelings about that, so go at it. Go for it.
I mean, my feelings are, who cares? Like, why are we even tracking this information? Who cares who has the most who's the British driver with the most wins? Like who cares? This is just them placating to the broadcast, placating to their base there. But who cares? I mean, can we not just say Jackie Stewart was great in his time, and Mansell now has more wins, and he's very, very good. Like, why do we have to wheel him out here so we can say, oh yeah, he's about to break your record? You can see, like, he didn't really care. Like, he knows his record was beatable. Like, I think because as drivers get older, they realize, okay, there are other people who are as good as you. It's usually the young guys who believe that they're the best and nobody will ever be better. So who cares?
The thing is, well, first of all, they're British television, right? So I think they keep that things for I don't know, because they like.
You play the hometown team,
and I think the German TV probably had the same stats with Germans, and when Schumacher was breaking all the records and then battle. But I think, like, even nowadays we talk about most number of poles with Hamilton, most number of victories with Hamilton. So it's a stat. You just change the voice and the quality of the video and audio, but this is stats thing. This is still here nowadays. You can't say, like, oh, who cares? Like, everyone cares. Everyone always cared. So I don't agree with you on this on this case. The stats have always been here, and they've always been.
It's like so hard to measure, but because, back when Jackie Stewart was racing, they were racing like 16, 15 times a season, as opposed to what they were doing in that era. It was near the 20. And now you just can't compare like eras. Like, Jackie Stewart was a good racer. Nigel Mansell was insane. And Senna at this time had the 61 poles to Mansell's 25. I mean, you just can't, that whole GOAT conversation is hard because it was a lot harder to race the cars back in the day. Now it's a lot easier. There's more races. There's more points. It's all irrelevant. Like, you just can't compare drivers. Like, if you put Senna in a car these days with him at his peak driving wise, he's probably going to still be the best in the field just because of how he drove the car. It's good to acknowledge, yay, Mansell beats Jackie Stewart, but at the end of the day, you just can't compare generations.
And Jamie, I think you were pointing out before we started recording that that on this broadcast there's really no information given to the viewer. It's like it's very Spartan in terms of what
it's frustrating.
It's frustrating.
I didn't know what lap was it. Like, I was like, what lap? Like, I was time stamping things. Like, let me see the lap. Oh, there's no lap information. Like, it's crazy.
It's like, as Mansell comes round for his 16th lap of the race, it's like, oh, okay, so we're lap 16. Great. Why can't it just be in the corner? Tiny little corner, 16 of 59. Like, come on.
And they would just throw randomly once in a while the distance between Mansell and Patrese. And it kept growing. But that was the only telemetry they would give us. It was so crazy.
Hey, it was still more accurate than the AWS predictions. More useful, anyway.
Yeah. So let's quickly go over some things that we thought was interesting. No pit lane speed limit, right?
Yep.
They just raced whatever they wanted.
Yeah.
No helmets for the pit crew. Yeah. They just like shorts, shirt.
Yeah.
No,
sneakers.
Other than the beach. Let's just like change some tires. Like, there's no spark. It was so funny. And then we talked about the flags, right? The blue flags not being forced, but then the yellow flags in terms of safety, which is crazy to think about it, right? When Senna broke down, then Olivier Panis spun and broke. Like, the marshals just went out to the track and started pushing the car. There were no flags,
and the car goes blasting by at 140 miles an hour, just a few feet away from them, and they're just wheeling it down the track. Yeah,
they were crazy. Just like, and the last one, which is iconic, right? It's the fans running onto the track on the cool down lap, which has happened in other tracks, right? Even like the year before, Senna in Brazil, when he won the first time, right? They did the same. So. It was cool, but it's totally non-secure. I was in Monza in 2017. They actually opened the gates and let people go in, but after the cool down is done.
Yeah, when they're back into the pits,
No, but it was funny to see, like, they just, and Mansell, and we'll hear that, but Mansell run over a person.
Yeah, he hit somebody.
Yeah, because
I
like
need a
there
few
were so
more
many.
now.
Yeah, exactly. Because at first he was trying to keep the engine running.
Yeah.
In hopes that the marshals would take them out of the way so he could finish the lap. But then they just give up.
Yeah, you could hear him revving it, just trying to keep it going.
Yeah. So let's hear the post interview. Let's see what you guys think.
Nigel, what a win. What support. Silverstone has become Mansell Stone. You must be absolutely thrilled.
I'll tell you. Oh, yeah. But easy, so no. Yeah, the only thing was I was worried about getting back to the pits, and I had to slow down so much because they were blocking the track, and actually ran one person over, and he was a very big man, but we were only going a few miles an hour, but he loved it. But anyway, I hope you're not hurt too bad. You got up and sort of picked me up, so many apologies for that. But the car, we just had to leave the car at club. There's no way through.
Were you in any danger there, being mobbed by the crowd?
Well, we were picked up and thrown about, and it was the marshals and police that rescued me. And I mean, what can you say? I've never experienced that in my whole career anywhere in the world. And I mean, they're fantastic, aren't they? It's just incredible.
And now you've beaten Jackie Stewart's record, 28 wins.
Yeah, I mean, that hasn't sunk in yet. And I mean, Jackie being the tremendous man he is and sportsman, when he sent me that telegram, he said he didn't expect me to be a member of the club too long, but I didn't expect to sort of beat it in the next race. And but for me, it's just credit to the team and Renault, of course, who's given us the machinery to be able to achieve this.
Was that a precautionary tyre stop?
Yeah, we planned it, and and then I was able to then sort of choose the pace that I wanted to sort of go. But I mean, I had a few little moments with coming up with people, and they didn't see me. But other than that, it was a great race.
Nigel, I know you won't be drawn on the World Championship, but with continued success like this, you must have the odd sneaky thought that this could be my year.
No, not really. I've been in the game too long. I've been in the game too long. I'm glad Ricardo was laughing, but I mean, to be so close like I was in '86 and have it robbed with 16 laps to go, I'm not going to count on anything until it's in the bag.
Ricardo, how are you after?
All right, there we have it.
Yeah.
So will someone please tweet to Jamie what a telegram is, because I'm absolutely sure he has no idea what the telegram is. But there you see, Mansell, he's still isn't confident, that he's going to win the championship, and probably because the one that he had lost that he mentioned. But I also think in '91. The Williams had a significant number of reliability issues, so they weren't really able to finish a ton of races. So he's still very cautious, even though he has the best car on the grid by far.
And he just won the race by 40 seconds.
Exactly, but I think again, compare Mansell, who was 39, by the way. Okay, he looks 54, but he was 39. He does. Looked it up. Compare him with Hamilton, and you see the maturity level is completely different, right? The way they portray themselves is different, right?
Yeah.
And you guys know I'm not a big fan of Hamilton. I think the way that he reacts to things I don't agree. But Mansell, very calm, very into the moment, answering the questions. He didn't bring any external factors. He was answering the questions. He was glad to be there, grateful for winning, grateful for the fans to having picked him out of the car and carried him away. He was just a genuine, nice guy, and a pretty damn good driver. So I think there's a stark difference between, and I think I go after Hamilton, but any driver from this, day and age is like that. They're more like, hey, let me post an Instagram picture and do this and do that. It's not about the race, it's about everything else around.
I mean, look at Yuki Tsunoda. He's been in the paddock for 5 minutes and he thinks he's the best driver on there and he should be getting everything. So it's just the modern driver. They were humble back in the day. Now they all think they're the best, and that's why they're there. So except for Mazepin, he's there because of money.
It's crazy, but then after that they talk to Patrese, then goes to Brundle, and then he does the dig at Senna from Formula 3. But yeah, I think that race was nice. If it wasn't for Brundle, Senna, and Schumacher, it would be very boring.
Yeah.
But that saved the race, right? And it was nice to see that those guys fighting basically the entire race. And interesting to see the pit strategy, right? Because basically Mansell went to the pits, changed the tires to see if it was worth Patrese changing.
Yeah.
Brundle did the same thing for Senna. And I believe Schumacher did the same thing for Brundle.
For Brundle, yeah.
So the communications were not there yet because there was team radio, but they were heavily relying on the pit wall boards.
Yeah.
Right. So it's definitely interesting to see that kind of strategy playing out.
So do we want to go through the top 5 to finish off the show, the finishing order?
Yeah, just wrap it up. Bring it home, Jamie.
So obviously finishing in first was Nigel Mansell. Second behind him was his teammate, Riccardo Patrese, who was 39 seconds behind him. Then Martin Brundle rounded out the podium, 48 seconds behind Mansell. A young 23-year-old Michael Schumacher, 53 seconds off the lead. And Gerhard Berger, also from McLaren, bringing home the 5th place, 55 seconds behind. But obviously he had that engine issue towards the end, so kind of wrecked him. But yeah, I mean, some big names in that top 5.
Absolutely.
A future multi-time world champion.
I know, yeah. And 2 more on the back, right?
Yeah.
He went Raikkonen. Yeah. Oh, Hakkinen, sorry.
Hakkinen, yeah.
Anyway, I think that was fun. Thanks, guys, for
that was really good.
For suggesting that. And again, for whoever is listening or watching on YouTube, please give us suggestions on what race we should review next. We have a lot of fun. We put a lot of work on those. In terms of watching and then getting the clips, making sure we have a storyline. So, like, comment, subscribe, review, follow us on Twitter at Finding the Gap F1.
Yep.
And we'll see you next time.
Yeah. See you later, guys.
Right. Thanks, boys.
Bye.